You're one of your favorite fans.
Crybaby. All right. Look at that.
Hi, Kent, can you hear me?
You're loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm on my phone, so hopefully the sound is all right. How are you tonight?
Overworked, underpaid, way behind. I never complain, though. Never complain.
The usual. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Kent, sometimes you say that a pen obviously has a designer.
Correct.
The pen has a very long evolutionary history, using the colloquial term of the term evolution, all the way back to 3000 BC when the Egyptians were using reeds, and then the Romans developed a metal stylus that actually became the pencil. So different types of pens have branched off and become pencils. And finally we had the ballpoint pen. Well, we had a quill pen before that, then the ballpoint pen, etc. So
Right.
who designed the pen?
What you just said, it makes no sense at all. The pen did not change by itself. It was intelligent people making those changes. I don't have a pen, I got a pencil here. But every step that you mentioned, every single step involves somebody with intelligence creating it. None of the pens, even a quill pen, where they trim the end and cut a slot in it to absorb ink with capillary action, and then they dip it in the ink and they can write with it for a few words. I got to dip it in again. That has to be designed. Every step of the way it's designed. And pens and ink pens and pencils can't reproduce, which makes it much more complicated. Adding reproduction to the mix, now it's really impossible.
But you're using it as an analogy for a creator God. And I'm trying to let you know that it has an evolutionary history, and at each step of that process, yes, there was a human designer, but that human designer came from their parents, who came from their parents, and they wouldn't be around if it weren't for those parents and those lineages. So
Correct.
you can't answer the question simply that somebody designed this pen.
Well, yes, somebody designed the pen, somebody designed the pencil. Would you say the Corvette has evolved from the 1953 Corvette or whenever they produced the first one to today? If you're going to use the word evolution for that, then you're not using the word evolution like they use it for physical living things.
Right, and I'm not using it. I'm using it in a colloquial sense, but I'm using it to show that you're using it as an analogy for a single creator, the person that designed the Corvette. But of course, the Corvette came from earlier automobiles, which came from steam engine boats and vehicles, all the way down to carts, all the way back to people rolling vehicles on logs. So again, there is no designer of the Corvette. It goes all the way back in time, just like any other process. It changes through time, and it gets more complex through time.
The Corvette changes by itself? You said there is no designer for the Corvette. Where did you go to school, son? There's a designer for every screw in the Corvette. There's a designer for every piece of plastic. Everything about this pencil had a designer. The eraser, the metal band around here, the paint, the covering the wood, the hexagon shape, the graphite. Everything about it had a designer.
It all came from the people previously that had done it before them, and it had progressed step by step to its current state. Just like any organism, even though organisms have done it through DNA and mutations, but everything changes through time, and animals get more complex. Humans have gotten more complex from, their ancestors, and the pencil has gotten more complex from its initial stylus or reed or quill pen.
I think you need to go back and rewatch the last 5 minutes of what you just said and really stop and think about it. Do you really believe the pencil or the pen evolved with no designer? Every step of the way there was a designer. Their whole design teams on the Corvette, just to design the taillights. It takes a lot of work, and then you got to build molds, and there's a lot of work just to make a taillight or a single nut and bolt. Each one is designed to fit the other. It takes a designer for every step of the way.
It's not a single person though, and it
It's a
goes
whole
back
crew.
through.
I know.
Right, it's a whole crew, and there's also the people that mine the metal,
Right.
and there's people that made the plastics,
Yeah.
and all those people, and all their parents as well that made
Oh.
them.
Yeah.
So there is no single designer like you're using it as an analogy for. That's
is
my
that your
main.
point?
That's my main
Okay.
point. Is
There
you're
are
using you're using the Corvette as an analogy for God creating life, basically.
Well, I'm saying
And
anybody.
I'm saying, oh, go ahead, Ken.
Everybody that understands any common sense would say a marble, a single marble, had to have a designer. I don't know who did it. I don't care. Okay, but it had to have one. And the human body with 100 trillion cells and your DNA code that would go across the solar system twice from one person had to have a designer. I believe God did it, like he said, and he wrote a book. We have historical eyewitness accounts, not of the creation, but of the stories in the Bible. We know George Washington was president from historical accounts, that nobody alive today saw George Washington. But we know from written history. We have written history.
Well, he wrote his own material too.
Yeah, well, God wrote his own. God wrote the first chapter of Genesis, gave it to
Well,
Adam. I believe that.
That's not many people believe that.
Oh, they will when I'm done. Everybody's going to believe it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we got more waiting on you. Thank you. Call
Okay.
in anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.